Hi, good morning. Now, yesterday was my father's birthday. My dad set a blistering pace and showed me the best example of how to be a man. One of the biggest things I learned from him is how to overcome my fears. In his honor, I'd like to share a story I wrote about him. I hope that it helps you overcome your fears. My father wrote his common entrance exam in Apam. It was June 1963, and my dad, well, he had a mission. His own illiterate father had told him to which means learn until the end of learning. And so there was no way he was going to let the common entrance be the hurdle at which he fell, not when he was planning to run the full marathon of academic excellence. So he studied and studied every day until the sun went down. Then he would light a candle and study some more. He practiced solving equations over and over until he could do them in his sleep. From then on, his only concern was how to solve them faster. His entire time and energy was dedicated to passing these exams. Nothing else mattered. You see, the common entrance was the exam that determined whether a young student would go on or go home. It was the differentiator, the decider between those who would grow up to become providers for the entire family and those who would become lifelong dependents, traveling once every quarter to the city to visit their well-to-do cousins who did pass the common entrance. My father had no intention of scrounging on his smarter cousins for the rest of his life. No, he wanted to be the smarter cousin. Now, the day before the exam, they were all told where to meet at 5:30 in the morning to board a bus to the exam center. Now, my father lived a fair distance from the meeting point, so he resolved to wake up at the crack of dawn, get ready, and be there in good time. He was not going to miss that bus. So he went to bed early, but he couldn't sleep. A mixture of anxiety and excitement kept him awake far longer than he had intended, until at some indeterminate hour, while he was mentally converting some ratio into a fraction, he dozed off. A far-off noise woke him up with a start. He looked through the window and noticed to his horror how bright it was outside. It certainly looked like it was no longer dawn. With a yell of panic, my young father sprung out of his bed, threw on his uniform, grabbed his pre-packed lunch of kenkey and fried fish, stuck a chewing stick in his mouth and legged it out of the house. Now, the route to the pickup point took my 13-year-old father through a notorious cemetery called Kantamkim, which means swear an oath and cross. Now, legend has it that it was the site of a particularly bloody battle during the tribal wars, and for many years after, one had to speak an oath before walking across those hallowed grounds. And of course, the oath only offered you a very brief, very temporary protection from the spirits that supposedly dwelled there, so you had to chant your oath quickly and hustle across the cemetery before its power wore off. Now, my father was in too much of a hurry to bother with oaths. He simply plowed his way through the cemetery, hoping against forlorn hope that the bus would wait for him. He got to the pickup point and it was deserted. No sign of the bus. My young father could not believe it. How could he have missed the most important bus in his life? His entire future had left on that bus without him. So he turned to walk away and noticed the house across the street where one of his mates lived. So he decided to find out from his mate's parents exactly how long ago the bus departed. Now, when he knocked, a panicked voice from within inquired in a harsh whisper, "Who's that out there?" "It's me, Kobna," he replied. "I just wanted to know what time the bus left." "What bus?" his friend's mother asked incredulously. "Kobna Doku, it's 3:30 in the morning. Go back home and sleep." My father's first reaction was confusion. 3:30? So why was it daylight? Then he looked up and realized it was a full moon and the bright lunar illumination had created that illusion of early daylight. His next reaction was intense relief. He had not missed the bus after all. His future was still very much intact. His third reaction was amusement. He chuckled to himself, thinking of how he had rushed out of the house and run all the way through the cemetery. The cemetery! His chewing stick fell from his fear-frozen lips. He had just gone through a cemetery at 3:30 in the morning, and he hadn't spoken any oaths either. How on earth was he supposed to walk back through that horrific place and go back to bed? Now, I wonder what you would have done in his shoes. But my dear friend, I tell you this story because I want to share what I learned from it. You see, when you have a goal, when you make that goal your absolute priority, when you pursue that goal with single-minded urgency, all the obstacles, all the impediments, all the difficulties at which you would normally pause, probably balk and most likely give up, all the cemeteries along your path fade into insignificance. All that matters is your goal, and no hurdle is too high to keep you from it. It's only when you pause, like Peter, and think to yourself, hey, am I actually walking on water? That's when you start to sink. Most of the obstacles to our success are in our own minds. Someone has told you that startups never succeed, so you have never started. Someone told you that nobody ever gets a job in that company unless they know someone on the board, so you never applied. Someone told you that everybody fails that exam, so you never registered. Somebody told you, oh, that guy is so snobbish, he only likes fair girls, so you never said hello. Somebody told you we will never beat Galamsey in Ghana, so you stop fighting it. My dear friends, the obstacles in our way are the ones we choose to see. If you think you can't, you're right. But if you think you can, you might. So just grit your teeth, focus on the prize, and just contempt him. You'll be surprised at what you can achieve when you stop focusing on your fears. My name is Kojo Yankson, and I can't afford to miss my bus, so I'm plowing through the cemeteries of my life. Good morning, Ghana folk.
Ka Intamchim, a beautiful message from the morning man, Kojo Yankson. He's back again tomorrow for another message of motivation. But I hope this one takes you through the entire day. Let's settle now for the AM News. President Akufo-Addo is assuring an atmosphere that will guarantee electorates exercise their franchise in a free, peaceful and secured atmosphere. Fairness in the electoral process, neutrality of the security agencies continues to be a major concern among a section of the political divide and other identifiable groups. The president says efforts are underway to ensure a peaceful Ghana before, during and after the election. He's been speaking at the annual conference of the Ghana Bar Association here in Accra.
Ghanaian democracy will be all the stronger for that shared commitment. I assure you, and indeed the Ghanaian people, that unstinting efforts are being made by my government and I to ensure the peace and stability of the nation as we enter the last 3 months of the electioneering campaign. Ghana has rightly earned a reputation as the pace setter in democratic governance on the continent, a reputation I'm determined to uphold and indeed enhance prior to, during, and after the 7th December election. To this end, I would need the cooperation and assistance of all citizens, especially members of this great association, the oldest professional organization in our nation, which has been such a magnificent champion of free, open government. We have all to work together to create the environment that will allow the Ghanaian people to make their decision on 7th December in freedom, peace, and security. It is their right. So let us therefore conduct ourselves with courtesy, responsibility, mutual respect, and in peace. When my time is up, hopefully after 4 more years, I want to hand over to my successor and the sovereign people of Ghana, a country that is greater, fairer, stronger, more cohesive, more prosperous, and more united than I met it in 2017. This is a solemn undertaking to which I have committed myself. I'm an incurable optimist and remain firmly convinced that the Ghanaian people, the first of the colonial peoples of sub-Saharan Africa, to free themselves from foreign domination, will chalk another first in being able to effect the transformation from poverty to prosperity on the back of democratic institutions and values.
Away from politics, the Accra Region Police is assuring family of the late Professor Yaw Bene it will do all it can to unravel the mystery behind the killing of the law lecturer over the weekend. A team of police homicide experts led by the CID boss, DCOP Kenny Abo, on Monday visited the residence of the late professor where his body was found with his hands tied at his back in a pool of blood. My colleague Mamiesi Thompson was at the residence when the police team arrived and filed this report.
Professor Yaw Bene's neighbors have many memories of him. He was last seen on Thursday before he was brutally murdered in cold blood. His death has shaken his neighborhood, prompting residents to ask why Professor Bene. Seamstress Yaba has a shop right opposite his house. She says she had a pleasant relationship with the late professor.
Last time I met that day not car anymore.
The last time we spoke was on Thursday. We waved at each other in the morning before I left for a wedding in the Western region.
Saturday,
only to hear on Saturday that he had been killed. I will really miss his morning greetings. Another gardener in the area shares fond memories of him.
Maybe Uncle Benny would call Uncle Benny. Everybody for the area here, we saw no would call his name. So I finish what we do and then we come. We come there, then we call that time police have arrived, and then they open the place and they start doing their things. After they finish everything, the first time I saw him, said he was inside their package, the white body pack. No. So that was the first time I saw him, and then we check him, we put for the mortuary car. That was how they go.
Assemblyman for the Ajiringano electoral area, Joseph Odai Boy, tells me security will be boosted in the area to avert such incidents.
It came to us as a shock and a surprise because the prof has been with us here. I can't give you the specific number of years he has been with us, but for us to be told that he has been murdered, it's not a good thing at all, and that doesn't speak well of the area too. It doesn't speak well of the area. So I pray that the police will do their best to fish out the bad notes within the area, and then the area will be free.
Meanwhile, a team of investigators trooped his house earlier, led by the Director General of the CID, DCOP Ken Yeboah, to harvest clues to unravel the mystery behind Professor Yao Bene's killing.
Meanwhile, the police is debunking rumors the crime scene had been tampered with before they could collect evidence. DSP Efia Tenge has been speaking with my colleague Gifty Ando Apia on The Pulse.
The crime scene experts, together with the investigators who are working on this particular case, are doing whatever is humanly possible to see if we can make good headways in this particular murder case. We are doing what we have to do as professionals, and we know bringing in the crime scene experts alone indicates that, yes, the homicide units who are trained in investigating cases of this nature have taken whatever they wanted to lift initially at that point. So we should not be castigated, and people should not think that the police are not doing what they are expected to do. And as part of investigations, the police can still revisit there, because any lead that we get, we can still move on to the crime scene. It doesn't mean that we have to cordon up the place. If it's for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we cannot hold somebody's house. But initially, what was expected from the police, I believe, and from the crime scene, they have done that.
Away from this tragedy, wristwatches for many years have served as useful time tracking in the examination hall. But students writing the Basic Education Certificate examination were asked to remove all wristwatches. Authorities say technology has turned many of these time tracking tools into information surfing gadgets that could be used to cheat in examinations. Chairman of the Ghana Education Service Council, Mike Nsoa, reveals measures have been put in place to aid students stay in tune with time during exams. Nanaya Jima filed this report.
So the students you see in your shot are students from different basic schools in the Oforiko municipality, and they are all writing the examination here at the KNUST Basic School. And this center particularly has 4 different centers all in one compound. Before every student gets access to this place, your temperature is taken, and also you are obliged to wear a mask. It's a must here at the KNUST Basic School due to COVID-19 protocols. Veronica buckets for the observance of hand-washing protocol are dotted across this center. Love News gauged mood of the students here.
We're writing English and RM, and so far so good. It's good because we have been learning our textbooks and the past question from the government, so it's good. It's good.
Thank you.
I'm not feeling well.
Yeah?
I'm not feeling well.
You're not feeling well?
Yes.
Why
I'm afraid.
You are nervous. No, you don't have to be nervous, but if you are well prepared.
Yes.
Are you well prepared for the examination?
Yes.
But you don't look confident. You don't look and sound confident.
Yeah, I'm well prepared, so I'm okay. I know I can write it.
You know you can write it. No fears.
Yeah.
You don't sound too confident.
I'm confident.
Thank you very much. From Kumasi for Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
And before we go, built over 300 years ago, the Dutch slave fort was the place where a Ghanaian king was beheaded 2 centuries ago. Justice Beidou traveled to the western regional village of Betre to dig into the history of Fort St. Bartenstein and why people there want the story about it told.
A 15th century monument with stories largely untold. This is the Fort St. Bartenstein in Butwe in the western region. It was here in 1838 that a Ghanaian king, known for his brutal stand against the slave trade, was killed in cold blood.
This fort speaks a lot of volume to me personally, because I feel like my forefather or my own father was killed here, and it's like a child who didn't meet his father, but you come and you hear that this is where your father was slaughtered, you understand, or your father was killed. So anytime we come here, we feel like this is the home of our ancestors.
After the Dutch, who colonized the west coast of Ghana at the time, failed to respect a 200-year bond they had signed with the Ahanta people to end the buying of slaves, Bedu Bonso led a brutal onslaught against them, killing hundreds of Dutch officers, including then Governor Hendrik Tony Boja. Ahanta oral traditions say Bedu Bonso's own sub-chiefs gave him up for execution after they had been bribed by the Dutch. Stephen Kenya is a direct descendant of Bedu Bonso. Today, he is the assemblyman for this community and seeks to let the story heard.
Here was the center where the plot to capture Otumfuo was initiated, and here was the center where he was captured. Another commander of the Dutch, he mobilized from Elimina, mobilized troops along from Elimina to this side, Butwe, to fight Otumfuo. So they ambushed him and captured him. Then they brought him here and beheaded him.
The fort, after many years of neglect, is falling apart, overtaken by weeds. Today, people in Butwe want to put this monument back on the map and also have the story of Bedu Bonso told to the rest of the world.
We have not been able to keep up the place to the standard that we want to be, even though it was bombed along the line. But like you can see now, it's not just Otumfuo that was killed here. There were people that were enslaved from this side to the Dutch farms or plantations outside there. You understand? So if you go to Dutch, there might be a lot of people who have the history or who have lineage to Ahanta, because they were all enslaved here, or one way or the other they were captured here and sent away.
Justice Beidou, Joy News, Butwe.
A little history there to keep in your pocket, hopefully forever. Now you know their story. And that's it for the AM News. We'll come back with a review. My colleague Joseph Akable will join me as we do the review. He was in court yesterday. Remember, Kennedy Japan was supposed to appear. He said he had not been served. Another summon has been now issued. and he's supposed to appear on a Friday. We'll tell you all the other things in between that wasn't told from the courts. Joseph will be here to brief us. And as our young students sit for another exam today, remember they started yesterday. Today they have ICT. They're writing ICT and one other paper. We wish them well in that exam. BDT. We didn't write that. This one is basic design and technology. We wish them the very best as they sit for the exam. Stay with us. The review is right after this. Welcome to the review segment of our show this morning. Joseph is here. Kofi Akable, Frimpong.
Hello, Mavi. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again.
Yeah. You too. You make the morning complete, you know.
I know.
You know,
and you make it amazing.
But yesterday you were in courts. We talked about Kennedy Japan appearing before the High Court. He didn't show, did he?
No, he didn't. And there's even a fresh twist to this whole matter.
Okay.
So he failed to show up yesterday. And per the documents that the court has from the court's registry, the bailiff who was assigned the responsibility to serve him, because the contempt matter is quasi-criminal and he ought to be served personally. They need to give him documents, notify him that he has to come to court on this date. The bailiff said he went over to his offices at Net 2. The receptionist called Mr. Japan for him, and Mr. Japan informed him that he should take a shot of the documents and send him, and they should take the documents to Parliament, where service should be effected at. And so this bailiff says he took the documents to Parliament and gave it to the Clerk of Parliament to effect service. The Clerk of Parliament later wrote back to the Judicial Service informing the registrar that they've been unable to effect the service, and so they are returning the documents to them. They should find another means of letting him have the documents. And so that was the state of affairs, that as at yesterday, there was non-service. And so because of that, it meant in legal terms that he was not aware of the hearing that was taking place. So that is the first twist. Now the new twist to this particular matter is that his lawyers, one Ralph Japan, who represents Mr. Kennedy Japan, says that Mr. Japan did not scandalize this particular judge.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
He says the judge he was referring to is a different land court and a different judge. And so he says if he was pointing us to the apology that they issued, and the name of the judge written is not a judge whose court the
oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's jump into the papers because I know that it's one of the headlines, and then I will try and see if I can recall because I didn't see a name of a judge. I just saw the Chief Justice. We'll retrieve, yes, we'll do that in the course of this review. It's getting really interesting. There was another case, though, that Joseph would give us a brief on. This has to do with the Electoral Commission and the Member of Parliament for Ashaiman. But let's straight away dig into the papers, the Daily Graphic newspapers. That's where I start. Front page on the 2020 elections. EC fixes October 5 to 9 for filing nominations. Presidential aspirants pay 100,000 Ghana cedis. We gave you details of that in our news a while ago. Government unhappy with downgrading by S&P Global. GSA FDA harmonization October 1. We'll tell you what all that is about. The Ghana Standards Authority and the Food and Drugs Authority. ECOWAS summit today. President Akufo-Addo is the ECOWAS chair, hosting his colleagues on this main issue to be discussed, the crisis in Mali, we're told. But for those of us in the Greater Accra region, there are some routes that will be inaccessible today, so you have to really calculate, probably leave home early. And I shared those routes with you. I'll give you a reminder before we wrap up the review segment of our show, so you can avoid and have a plan B even before you leave home, so that you don't get yourself in unnecessary traffic this morning. In the center spread, BEC takes off smoothly. Candidates adhere to COVID-19 protocols. Graphic is Pathfinder, according to Dr. Donko Fojo, a former president of the African Development Bank. President assures private sector of support. is also another story in the center spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Related to that, the National Board for Small-Scale Industries has started disbursing some 50 million Ghana cedis to private schools which applied for loans. The executive director is on our show today. So if you still need support, we're going to be asking if that is open. And if you applied and you haven't received any monies yet, would you still get it? If you have related questions, kindly send it to us ahead of that conversation. On the back page of the Daily Graphic, 2 join forces to reverse blood supply shortage. That's an interesting one. A software development company and Cell Technologies, in partnership with the Global Blood Fund, has begun a nationwide campaign to encourage more people to donate blood to sustain supply, especially for emergency cases. The other story on the back page of the Daily Graphic, officials of fake insurance firm NAPT. Story says the National Insurance Commission, in collaboration with the police, has arrested 2 officials of an unlicensed insurance brokerage firm operating under the name Family Fountain Insurance Brokers. The suspects are currently in police custody, assisting in investigations, and if found culpable, they will face criminal prosecution according to law. The arrest comes after weeks of surveillance and trailing of the special investigative units of the NIC and the police. There's a lot more. So if they got insurance for you, it means that it's not valid, really. And if you happen to be involved in an accident, why are you going to make the claims? Because what they've done for you is non-existent, really. It's good that the commission, is keeping an eye on such persons. All right, we'll come back and do some more stories in the Daily Graphic, but Joseph has got the Daily Guide.
Yes, the front page of the Daily Guide this morning, it has a story about the EC's filing fee. It says EC announces 100,000 cedis presidential candidate fees. In 2016, bribe question jolted me. That's according to Mr. Mahama. I don't know whether you remember this question. I never forget it. Mr. President, have you taken a bribe before? As a human being or as a president?
This is the BBC journalist, Okocha Peter, yes. Yeah. Of course I remember the question. Who would ever forget it?
Okay, so I think we can touch on this.
What was the response again?
So as a president or as a human being?
Okay, that one wasn't good.
Have you taken bribe before you?
Well, listen, as a journalist or as an individual?
And you know, on social media, after it happened, people sympathize of the NPP. They did this video where you remember Obi's question to the president during the Meet the Press series, where he asked the president whether he's taken bribe before, and the president's response was, "I am not corrupt. I've not taken a bribe before. I will not be corrupt." And so they merged that to the question and added it to the BBC question and the other one.
So this is more straightforward, straight to the point. But to be fair, sometimes
the former president has been explaining what exactly happened. I think we need to inform people what he says happened.
Okay. But this is the Daily Guide reporting.
Yes.
Okay.
He said when, so the portions of the story here says, he said when the Western media and its journalists would not dare ask any question, would not dare ask any of their leaders such a discourteous question, and appear to say that journalists in the advanced countries in particular, have the tendency to embarrass leaders from the developing nations. So he's quoted as saying that, the thing about that interview was that the question was a very discourteous one, he said. He then explained it was discourteous because the Western media has created an impression, of course, from some solid experiences. I mean, the period of Mobutu Sissoko and all that characterizes every African leader as corrupt. And so one won't ask a Western leader that kind of question because it is discourteous, he said on Accra-based Class FM. Yeah. So he said that he had a problem with the question. It was discourteous.
What was agreed? Because that's like a very high-profile interview.
Well,
it can't just
from the
happen.
reaction, it seems like a question that was just tossed.
There was a follow-up question, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
a discourteous follow-up question. So that is it for the front page of the Daily Guide. We can look at the back
sometimes
page.
things happen. You ask certain questions that you have not even planned. It just occurs to you. But that's why it's a conversation. Yeah.
I agree. The back page of the Daily Guide newspaper has a story about a GFA deputy scribe quitting. Neymar, 4 others see red as brawl Mars PSG Marseille clash. And Mourinho blames loss on COVID-19. Okay, the team that won was not affected by COVID-19. No,
he started with his
excuses.
Live
in a world that there was COVID-19.
Yesterday, I watched a bit of the Chelsea game. I wanted to know the new team. It's a whole team, a whole new team for Chelsea. I wanted to monitor, but I'm not sure that game would give me a fair assessment of the capabilities of that team. That
I didn't watch the game, but I hear Timo Werner showed signs of absolute brilliance. I'm not too sure about, they said the Kai Havertz gentleman, I'm told he was terrible. I saw a video of him giving a terrible pass. I'm sure Ulrich will tell us about that later.
But listen, how many? 9 new signings?
A number of them. The top, Timo Werner, there's Kai Havertz, there's Ziyech from Ajax. And
it would take a while for them to begin to gel properly, I guess.
And unfortunately, they've not had the benefit of preseason, the full complement training together a while, and so.
Yeah.
But the team looks good. I mean,
my team for this season, though, I've moved from Manchester United. It's Leeds United.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
I was impressed with their first game against Liverpool.
The Daily Dispatch front page this morning, it has filing of presidential and parliamentary candidates, NPP and NDC, to pay 2.85 million cedis each, and provisional 2020 voter figures per constituency. And behind Ghana and Nigeria's love-hate affair, you can find details of that story in the Dispatch. And we are committed to helping Zoom Lions solve many of Ghana's waste problems. Okay, that is an interesting story coming from President Akufo-Addo there. The back page has a Blakuma North. NPP targets 80,000 votes for Akufo-Addo. Has a photograph of the candidates for the NPP, Sheila Bartels.
That's a bold 80,000.
Yeah. And it has that story about the filing fee too, and also has another photograph, an ad from Darko and Newman. And so the two women are pushing.
Oh, both from the same constituency?
No, different constituencies.
No, obviously not.
Yeah, so one for Blakuma North and the other
you can have 2 NPP people on the same thing.
And let me end with the Finder. The front page has free, fair elections, bedrock for strengthening national cohesion. It's from President Akufo-Addo. And Dr. Baumia, Methodist Church, Others Mourn, Reverend Dr. Asante Entry. Story on page 5. Ghana sank under Mahama, but it's on a growth path under Akufo-Addo is coming from the NPP's Dr. Mustafa Hamid. GRA outlines plans to achieve 47.2 billion pre-COVID-19 targets. And BEC kicks off smoothly, also on the front page. I heard a soundbite on the news yesterday. The students, as usual, I said, the papers were cheap.
They haven't seen the marking scheme.
Oh, yeah.
They only saw the questions and how they answered it.
I'm told the students who find the papers to actually be cheap, they don't talk after the paper.
Yeah, that's it. That's the spirit.
It's the others who say the papers are cheap.
All right, let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page, EC opens nomination for election 2020 online. Presidential candidate to pay 100,000 Ghana cedis, MPs 10,000 Ghana cedis. And I don't worry about the filing fees, because obviously if you perform very well, that fee is refunded anyway. You should know your capabilities before you enter such a race.
Well, I disagree on the score of tying it to performance, because the essence of politics is to make as many options available to people as possible. So
I get it. Then don't complain about the filing fee. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they are complaining because there is someone who doesn't have money who Akabla may want to vote for, but that person will not be on the ballot because he doesn't have the money. And so it means you are tying it to money.
But if you can get a significant percentage, if you can't cross a certain line where that figure will be refunded, which means you can go and get a loan.
Yeah, but
and then you get your money back.
So we don't have good.
Otherwise, you'll be wasting our time.
We don't have good campaign financing laws, and we are just opening the leeway for some businessman to say, "Okay, look, Mama V, I'm going to pay the 100,000 cedis for you." Then this guy comes and calls you when you win power and tells you that, "Mama V, I've actually sent. I'm bidding for a contract to construct some road behind the area, and your roads minister is delaying the thing." I mean, this is a guy you are indebted to the tune of 100,000 cedis.
See, that's the thing. But how do they do it elsewhere? Because they still get funding from you know,
so if you
from
pick
individuals and groups.
If you pick someone like Obama, I mean, Obama's story, those who are familiar, if it wasn't for raising funds from the public, he can't contest an election even in Ghana. He didn't have the muscle. But our system is not such that political parties are able to raise funds from the public, including the NPP itself. Their source of funds, if they are going to publish their data, is obviously not from the general public and from the dues that members pay. We've not gotten to that transparent level yet. And so it's a bit, I mean, they have ways and means of, and it's interesting. Yesterday I heard Nana Obribuanyo of the NPP backing the fees. When you go back, I was doing a bit of research this morning. You see the NPP complaining about the fees in times past. And if you go back to 2008 to when the NPP was in power, you see the NDC also complaining about the fees.
It's a normal NPP and NDC thing.
All of a sudden, the parties become resourceable and are able to raise.
And they agree with the Electoral Commission.
Yes,
it's a political thing, isn't it? It's an NDC NPP thing, isn't it? Yeah. I guess if you really want to know if the fees are fair or not, well, can we begin to talk about fairness? But the whole idea is if you can't raise enough funds, then what are you doing standing for a position like that to either be
I'm standing because
or to be?
I'm competent, I'm smart, and I'm capable of changing the country. Not that I have.
But that's not enough, is it? Who are you carrying with you? Who are you carrying with you? There are a lot of people who are capable.
Oh well.
But people don't believe in them.
Let's see.
They don't. Nobody follows them. There are people who are really good, but they walk alone.
Yeah, that's true.
When they speak, they don't even get anybody following them or agreeing with them. So yeah. All right, let's do the rest of the stories. Kennedy Agyapong fails to appear before court. Another summons issued for him to appear Friday. Now, Joseph, tell me you found the name of the judge
I found
in the apology.
Yes, and so for the one that has to do with the apology that was issued, so it's addressed to the Honorable Chief Justice. It says apologies to the Honorable Chief Justice, Judges and Magistrates Association. But at the bottom of it, a judge is copied in the letter.
Okay.
And that judge is Justice Frank Aboagye Roxon.
Okay.
That's the judge who is copied in this.
Okay.
Now the order that was to appear in court was issued by Justice Amos Wunta Awini, also a justice of the High Court. And so this is the judge whose court Mr. Agyapong failed to show up yesterday. Now his lawyer's argument is that, and it's interesting, and it's worth all to note that even in the apology, the title of the case is quoted. It's Emmanuel Mompi and two others versus Honorable Kennedy Agyapong. That's the case.
When was that decided?
So it wasn't even a decision. It has to do with substituted service. That was what got him furious, that he was attacking the judges. They were trying to
so when was that?
So it doesn't make reference to the particular date.
Because see, this is what I'm asking. This judge who wants him to appear for contempt, to justify or to explain why he shouldn't be severely punished, when did he sit on a case involving Kennedy Agyapong?
Good. And so that is the interesting part. So that particular judge who he was supposed to appear before yesterday also has a case involving Kennedy Agyapong, a land issue. But if you read the apology, the one he was apologizing for, the case title is different, the judge copied is different.
But was that also a high court?
It's also a high court, and so we are clear in our minds that at least there are two cases we are talking about, no doubt. There are also two judges in this particular matter. Now, his lawyer's argument is that the judge I insulted, I have apologized to him. And that judge has not invited me to come and justify why he shouldn't punish me. And you that I have not insulted, you are inviting me to come.
Okay. I see what is playing out.
So they are raising a jurisdiction issue, essentially.
Oh, they are raising a jurisdiction issue.
Yes, and they said they intend to raise it on Friday when they appear before.
What is also interesting, and I don't know how essential this will be, the fact that the High Court is one.
What again makes it...
Has one High Court.
Makes it relevant again is the fact that if you read the apology, he was actually apologizing to the Chief Justice and the Association of Magistrates and Judges. Because obviously he may have taken a view that his comments, and if you listen to the tape, which I have listened to, which referred to judges to an extent generally. He says, I mean, he's prepared to take on judges who think they can abuse the process and just be there. And so that's why in the apology he says to the Association of Magistrates and Judges. The Association of Magistrates and Judges, the whole association is not hearing a case involving him.
Okay, listen, I'm also thinking that you can refer to all of them, but if one person feels insulted and he wants you to appear before his courts,
Even though the other, if apologize and he doesn't feel insulted.
Exactly. I mean, this will be really interesting
I think
to watch.
it will be interesting to.
And I hope that he's not complicating matters with this, because sometimes when you want to be smart with the procedure, essentially, some of them get really upset. Like,
and I mean,
really?
One question Evans asked the lawyer was that, I mean, knowing that even before the court date, he had actually published an apology.
Exactly.
Wouldn't it have made sense for them to just show up in this particular court and just apologize to the judge and explain that, I mean, you are not arguing the apology, but just, I mean, noting that it was a different year that happened, but you still apologize nonetheless, instead of...
Just to mitigate and, you know, calm.
So now it seems a bit confrontation. You are going to take on the judge, question his jurisdiction.
I'm excited about this.
Yes, for Friday.
It's a showdown. You'll be there, right?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, listen, we talked about this last week, about this guy who went to steal the laptop in on campus in Ho. He's been sentenced to 21 years.
Oh.
But listen, details of it. He actually stole a laptop, a phone, and 1,000 Ghana cedis, right? He had successfully executed. He went to steal the laptop. And then when he ran out of the hostel, he realized he didn't take the charger. So he went to hide the laptop in the bush and went back for the charger. It's the charger that got him arrested, unfortunately. And then he gets 21 years. That's a lot of years, really. But again, he had instruments with him. So just like we were talking about the thief who grabbed the handbag and got only 70 Ghana cedis in it, this one also had a knife and some other instruments. But he didn't make it difficult for the courts. I don't know why they gave him 21 years, because he just pleaded guilty. He said, yes, I did it, you know?
I think the arrogance of the theft also asked
Charlie, and he's only 28, and he's a father of
going
one.
back for the charger.
Yeah, he went back for the charger.
Hey, you don't even spare the owner the charger so that the event he or she gets the same laptop. Charlie. But it's very sad. I mean,
it is really. Okay, can we do myjoyonline.com before we knock off? Let's just run through the National Forum, Ghana First, Boldness, Firmness, Fairness, Manifesto's first tests. The higher a man climbs, the more his rear is exposed. Hey.
It's a powerful quote.
Charlie. Well, all right, let's the National Enquirer says full text of NDC's The People's Ejumapa Manifesto, Jobs, Prosperity and More. Mahama jabs critics. Okada has come to stay. Stop acting like ostriches. I don't need to be an economist to chair economic management team as VIP. That's Nana Opoko Ajiman Prof. Nobody can ban me from campaigning in Achim, according to former President Mahama. The BNFT city outperforms its peers despite impacts of COVID-19. Ahafo chiefs, people praise government for solid waste plant. GRA contemplates incentives for filing tax returns online. City stability to continue till end of 2020, according to an economist. But they say a sudden twist, which is government unhappy with downgrading by S&P Global. That story is in the graphic. It says the Ministry of Finance has described as unfortunate the recent downgrade of Ghana's credit rating from B to B negative by the international ratings agency S&P Global. Joseph will do myjoyonline.com real quick for us.
Yes, the stories on myjoyonline.com. Election 2020 presidential candidates to pay 100K as filing fee. My principles have sustained me this far is coming from Mr. Rawlings. Free, fair, and transparent elections pivotal to national cohesion is coming from the president. And if you can't raise 100K, get out. That's coming from Obribuayin. Men's Gold cannot be included in government's bailout fund is attributed to SEC. And Men's Gold CEO announces new venture. Wow.
Charlie, how annoying, when you haven't received, you know that your fund is locked up somewhere and the person who is the head of that institution is Charlie. I don't know. Anyway. I don't know how that will feel, really. I don't know how that will feel, because people are really frustrated, people are upset, people are confused, people are crying.
I saw a picture of a video of an old woman recently on one of the networks. I mean, she suffered stroke and she's unwell, invested about 60,000 cedis. She took 40,000, that's her own money, and 20,000 from the husband and added it. And about a month after the investment, I mean, things went south. you know.
And he's just going around talking big again. I had another one of a, you know how men think that women are good, you know, they keep things well. So this man's family, this is a family manual that they've kept with him. And he said, wife, you're better at these things, so keep this money so that when the family needs it, we can.
Fall on it.
Then wife, without consulting husband, decides to go and put it in men's gold.
Because she realized that she can make some 10% every month.
And that's a lot.
For money that will be idle somewhere.
That's a lot of money. And then he's just still going around announcing new ventures and talking big.
And the state is always asking for adjournments in prosecuting him, which in itself could be an avenue for some of the individuals to retrieve their monies, because a number of them have filed a complaint, and if they're able to identify his assets and they sell them off, that could be used to offset some of the outstanding debts. But the state keeps saying more time, and people's livelihoods. What the state shows its care for people when they are in distress, whether it was illegal or legal. There's always an avenue in law for them to compensate or assist them, not the bailout that we see, but that is how come you should go after the gentleman. I always say that monies were taken. How was he? Where did he take the money to? Like, that's the aspect of this matter I don't understand. Where was the money taken? That amount of money would obviously have gone into a bank or would be transferred somewhere or used for something. The money cannot disappear into thin air just like that.
Anybody very close to him, can he just keep quiet? Stay with us. We've got sports coming up. Orekwam Pofor has got details. And then we've got voters' voice, as well as if you've applied for a stimulus package, or can you apply for a stimulus package? All the conversation here on the AM show. Stay with us. (7:20) it is. Thanks to Orekwam Pofor with sports. Let's start the conversation. This is Voters' Voice, where we put some very basic questions to ordinary Ghanaians. We, try and figure out what they are thinking ahead of the election. So the question that we put out today is, will you vote for a candidate mainly because he or she is from a certain political party? And the response is from northern and eastern regions. After that, we have Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, who is a political scientist from the University of Ghana, joining us for a conversation. Let me just say welcome to the program, Dr. Asah-Asante. Okay, we didn't quite hear that, but let's listen to the voices. We will come back and have that conversation. Here we go.
Very competent. At the same time, because that party had delivered that same before, and what is bringing on board will have everybody, and that party I'll vote for, not because of the name of the party. I'm done.
Because I'm not a potent voter. I don't vote because maybe this person is competent or what. I vote based on what they are doing. Concerning their work, who I think I vote and it will help me or like a nation.
For a party because of we love the party and because of we love the candidate that party is brought in board. So now I realize that people almost do that thing and made a mistakes. So now we vote the idea of the party. So we are going to vote for those who are bringing quality things on board.
No, I don't think I'll vote. Why? Because things are not going well for me. I lost my job since 2016. And still up to now, I'm not getting a job.
So that's your reason for not?
Yeah, and even not, that is not the reason.
So why?
Because if you now see how things are going, my brother, I'm supposed to stop voting. Oh, actually, if I were to vote, I would vote for John Mahama.
Why?
Yeah, because during John Mahama time, things was moving well. But come to Akufo-Addo time, things are now That's so I don't think even if I'm going to vote, I'll vote for Akufo-Addo.
Before I vote for a candidate, either a member of parliament or a parliamentary candidate or a presidential candidate, I'll first look at the track record. If the candidate has any, then I will then go up to look at the party, because I'll place the candidate first before the party. Secondly, governance is not about try and error. It's about proving track record. That comes with full competence. So I'll look at whatever the party or the candidate through the party has done.
So voters' voice right there. You heard the voices of the people. Let's engage our guest, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist with the University of Ghana, joining us live. Good morning again to you, sir. If you can hear me. Okay, can you unmute yourself, please, so we can try and see if we can hear you? Good morning, sir. Hello, sir. Okay, it doesn't appear that we can hear his sound, so we're just trying to work on that and get Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, who's a political scientist with the University of Ghana, with us. One of the things that I'll be asking is, here in Ghana, when voters cast their ballot, are they choosing a candidate or they're choosing a political party? Dr. Asah-Asante, let's try again and see if you can hear me now. Good morning. Okay, we still have an issue there, but let's listen to the voices again. We'll come back and see if we can establish the communication with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Hear our voices again.
Very competent. At the same time, because that party had delivered that sent before, and what is bringing on board will have everybody. And that party I'll vote for, not because of the name of the party. I'm done.
Because I'm not a potent voter. I don't vote because maybe this person is popular or what. I vote based on what they are doing, concerning if their work. Who I think I vote and you help me or like a nation.
For a party, because of we love the party and because of we love the candidate that party is brought in board. So now I realize that people almost do that and we made a mistakes. So now we vote the idea of the party. So we are going to vote for those who are bringing quality things on board.
No, I don't think I'll vote. Why? Because things are not going well for me. I lost my job since 2016, and still up to now, I'm not getting a job.
So that's your reason for not?
Yeah, and even not, that is not the reason.
So why?
Because if you now see how things are going, my brother, I'm supposed to stop voting. Oh, actually, if I were to vote, I'll vote for John Mahama.
Why?
Yeah, because during John Mahama time, things was moving well. But come to Akufo-Addo time, things are now. So I don't think even if I'm going to vote, I'll vote for Akufo-Addo.
And before I will vote for
Okay. All right. So hopefully we'll have a smooth conversation. Let me say good morning again to you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Good morning.
Okay, great. Finally. So I first of all want to ask, when voters cast their ballots, are they choosing a candidate or they're choosing a political party here in Ghana?
This is a very interesting one. And I must say that it depends upon the person who is voting. Generally speaking, you expect that people will choose a candidate worth considering for the country. But sometimes, too, you tend to have people who choose a candidate simply because they have relationship with that candidate in terms of the party that is their preferred choice.
So, you know, what we've heard in the past, that sometimes it really doesn't matter who you are even placing in a certain constituency in terms of the MPs, that people would just simply vote for the person because of the love for the party. Can we still say that today in 2020?
Yes. There are a number of factors that influence the choice of voters, and one is what you have touched upon. It's where people select a candidate. They vote for a candidate simply because of a relationship that they have with the candidate or the party of that candidate. Yes, it is one thing that voters consider when they vote. They don't listen to any message, no manifesto issue, nothing of that sort. All that they are interested in is that my candidate is contesting and I want to vote for him. Pure and simple. Simplicity.
There are instances where a candidate fails to make it on the political party ticket, they go independent. Even though you'd find that in that constituency, the presidential candidates of that same party would win, but the MP, the person standing for the parliamentary seats, would lose, and they would rather vote for the independent candidate, even though they're all coming from the same political party. What's the understanding for a place like that?
Yes, that is what we call protest vote. Yes, I am so much in love with my party, but because of one or two reasons, I'm not satisfied. So I want to register my protest through that type of voting. I will go as an independent candidate, and people will vote for me. But even though I still love the party, but because of that reason, I want to stand as an independent candidate. And when they get to Parliament, you see these people gravitating towards their party in Parliament, and that is the issue. But let me also say that it's not only this party identification thing that people consider when they are voting. There are a number of factors, i.e., you talk about what we call in political science the rational choice perspective, where people vote based on the benefit that they would derive from such an exercise. So they vote based on what they would derive at the end of the day. Two, they also look at what policies and programs of the party, and that you can liken it to the manifesto, where it spells out what the party intends to do when giving opportunity to serve the country. They also look at what ideologies, what are the set of ideas that the people are bringing on board to govern the people, the basic ideas, the science of ideas, so to speak. These are things that people also consider. They also consider ethnic identity. Yes, you see time and again in this country, people play the ethnic card. Politicians, they do that a lot and come out only to deceive the public into believing that, oh, it's not something that they share in that. It's not true. They share in that. When they believe that that card will serve their interest, they play ethnic card. Some people vote simply because you belong to my ethnic group, and for which reason I have no doubt in my mind that you serve my interest. Whether you serve my interest or not, I am going to vote for you because we come from the same ethnic identity. It's all that. And of course, people also vote based on party performance. It means that the party in question has been in office before and has left a legacy, for which reason they want to consider and give the party another chance to govern the country.
Doc, what's the danger of a voter voting for the party and not the candidates?
When the right thing is that you vote for the party, and then, of course, they are also interested in who is leading the party. It's one of the considerations. They cannot give their vote to somebody they cannot trust, somebody who is loyal, because there is another variable that they consider is the evidence of dependability and reliability of that candidate. Yes, you want to consider a candidate who is reliable, who is dependable, who that you can depend on, all things being equal, he can deliver the public good. You are looking for that candidate and vote for that candidate. So it's a mix of ideas or factors that people consider when they are trying to cast their vote.
You know, it's interesting how people generally would vote for the party, and yet when they don't see progress, they begin to blame the MP and say that you haven't performed.
Yes, it is not new because as I've already alluded to, you want to vote, and out of that exercise, you want to have a certain benefit. We call it the rational choice perspective. People make choices based on what they will derive at the end of the day. So if you are an MP and you are not serving my interest, why do I continue to maintain you in Parliament? Or why do I want to maintain you as a representative? No, I'll throw you out and get somebody who will serve my interest. It's a very simple matter.
So, just finally on this, and I want to make room for those who are going independents in this election. What's the danger if you're not representing a political party, and in this sense, if you're not on the NPP or the NDC's ticket?
Yes, it is a good move because it's strengthening the frontiers of democracy. It tells us that there are protest votes, and that is the manifestation of that. One difficulty, if you want to stand election in this country as an independent candidate, is that more often than not, you are not strong on the ground and you are likely to lose. But we have seen also time and again where some constituencies, the candidate who is aggrieved and want to go solo as an independent candidate, they tend to win elections and they perform very well to the admiration of the parties that they are angry with. All these things are part of the schemes in politics. It's good. It's strengthening the frontiers of democracy and it makes life better for all of us. But my worry is that as soon as they get to Parliament, because of the architecture of Parliament, that the design, you don't have independent candidates sitting differently. You have to align with one of the parties in Parliament. So outside Parliament, you are independent. You go there only to align with one of the major or dominant parties there. It's unfortunate. Maybe with time, we will have a new Parliament where we will design these things in such a way that the centrists will remain in center, and then it will reflect their dreams and aspirations, and the reason why people put them there will be served.
Well, thank you, Doc, for this conversation. But I can't let you go without asking for an opinion on the filing fees, what we've been reading today because of the press conference of the Electoral Commission yesterday, what the presidential candidates are paying as filing fee and what the MPs would also be paying. What's your general thought on that?
I think in every democratic enterprise, you require some level of funding to be able to do that. If you want to contest elections and lead a country as a president or as a parliamentary candidate, you need to look for resources. How you find it, we are not interested in that, provided it is regulated within the framework of the law. Fine. Get the money and come and contest. So for me, I have nothing against the decision of EC coming out with such a figure. Yes, in advanced democracy, what people do is that once you know that this is a constitutional requirement and that the law mandates the Electoral Commission to, as it were, put a figure out for you to comply with, you need to do your homework. In advanced countries, what people do is that I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's Dr. Kwame Asante there. Yes, sir, we can hear you. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. In advanced democracy, what people do is that they get people to sponsor them. They organize birthday parties where people go and donate to their programs and all that. We should find clever means by which we can organize these things so that we can get the money that will help us to register. For me, once it is within the law, I have no problem with that.
So 100,000 Ghana cedis and 50,000 Ghana cedis is okay?
I am okay with that. It's cool. People should have organized themselves before now. So if you don't have it, try look around, because you see, you don't want democracy to be, yes, it is a process that we expect everybody to be part and parcel of that. But we don't want to also make it that, yes, it is just for pretense, that anybody can just walk in, pay very little amount and working. The time you realize you will be inundated with names who want to contest as presidential candidate. If you want to lead the country as a president, you yourself must organize yourself in such a way that some of these things can come from your own coffers. Remember, it's not only the money that you pay, but you also you make a declaration of your tax obligation, whether you have paid or you have made an arrangement to pay. We want a certain level of responsibility on the part of those who are going to lead us at the highest level in terms of the presidency and in parliament. So for me, it is well within the law, and I'm for it.
Okay. All right. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, I am so grateful for your time this morning. Thank you for the analysis. He's a political scientist with the University of Ghana. And that's it for Voters' Voice today. We will be coming to a community, your community perhaps, on Thursday for Voters' Voice. But up next, we're talking about the stimulus package, the challenges that COVID-19 has unleashed on a lot of businesses, small businesses. My guest is Madam Kosi Yankee-Aye. She's Executive Director of the NBSSI. We're tracking to see how much has been distributed so far. Are people still in queue wanting some funding? Is it too late? Perhaps if you're hearing this conversation now and you want to tap into the fund, what must you do? And then we'll also talk about the private schools. Remember that they've complained so much. Well, there was a figure released so they could pay salaries. How much of that has gone out? If you've got any thoughts, comments you want to share with us, of course, and your questions are also welcome when we get down to this conversation. It's coming up next here on the AM Show. Please stay with us. Well, some news coming in says there was an accident at dawn today on the Suhum Road. Well, we're trying to get some more answers and explanation as to how this happened, but we're told about 20 persons have died. We'll show you some pictures, but warning that the pictures are rather gory, very disturbing sometimes. Let's try and get some answers from Kojo Minta. He's a NADMO officer in the Eastern region. Good morning, Mr. Minta. Welcome to Joy News. Thanks for your time. Help us understand this accident that happened at dawn today, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So at about what time did this happen?
Good morning to your viewers. And it happened around 5:30 in the morning. We got a distress call from an eyewitness. And NADMO team, we mobilized with the police and an ambulance service. We got to the team, and this is what we are seeing this morning.
Okay. How many vehicles were involved in this accident?
It was 3 cars, 2 buses, and then 1 long vehicle with registration number, with a Burkina registration number, loaded with fertilizers.
Do you understand how the accident occurred? What may have caused it?
According to the eyewitness, the Burkina vehicle was coming from Accra. Then the 2 buses were coming from Kumasi. The driver had a flat tire or something like that, so he was moving onto other lanes.
Which of the was it one of the buses that had the flat tire?
No. The long vehicle loaded with fertilizers.
Okay.
To Burkina, with the Burkina registration number. So he veered off his route and got to the lane of the bus. Then it crashed the bus. Then the STC driver apparently saw the event, so he had to gear off the road, and eventually the vehicle got it there. So it hit 2 buses at the same time. And then, so as I speak to you this morning, around that time that I came, there were about 10 dead bodies. We couldn't even find the head, the legs of each and every one. So
how many people have been rescued? How many people survived this accident?
I can tell you the bus is loaded with full capacity. The 2 buses.
Okay.
So, but the bodies that we took on the floor that we counted was 10. Then the NADMO team had a call from the hospital. 1 has passed on, so it's 11. So you can imagine a STC bus and then another Kia bus with full loaded. So all these people have been moved to Suhum Government Hospital and then Sound Government Hospital. But I can't tell you the number is in the bus or it's in the Kia bus.
Have you?
But I can confirm that 11 people are dead now.
11 people dying, because of this accident. But have you successfully rescued all the persons that you can rescue as NADMO?
Yeah. Those people who are not even injured, we're taking them to the hospital so that they go for a checkup. So we've moved. Let me congratulate the ambulance service, the police service, the fire service. They are doing a very good job. They've been able to. They've been able to help us to move the victims to other hospitals, Mr. Home, and then the Home Government. As I see, the ambulance service is still on standby.
Okay.
We are trying to make sure that there's nobody hidden or any other person who is injured and would not be taken to hospital. So, as I said to you, we are also making sure traffic flows, but we are pleading with the drivers to exercise caution and drive with care, especially those coming from Kumasi and then Accra. We need to drive with care.
Okay. Explain the particular portion of the road where this happened.
It's happened in the middle of the road. Okay. That is from the town is Chichere, just after Fishermanti and Esiboy. When you are coming from Kumasi, just after Esiboy. When you are coming from Fishermanti, when you are coming from Accra, just after Fishermanti.
Okay. Any challenges that you're facing currently?
The challenges that we are facing is that drivers who are coming and they will park and then come and watch. They are rather causing more traffic. You understand? And people are taking pictures and videos of it that it's not necessary. We are urging everybody to stop doing that.
Okay.
And they should allow the traffic to flow so that we won't have another accident here.
Do you have the police there to help?
Yeah. We have the police in standby and then the fire service and ambulance service. The police are making sure no property is lost here. So we are also standing by and making sure, as part of our mandate as NADMO, we are helping them to make sure that the place is cleared. My director is here. Who is in charge of NADMO at ISO, and if you want to speak to him.
No, Kojo, what I want to do rather is to let you go so you can do the important work on the ground.
Thank you very much. So if anything, I'll let you know.
All right, great. We will touch base on the ground again, for some more updates. But we heard from Kojo Minta, a NADMO officer in the Eastern region. Well, the news, which is not good really, is that there was an accident at dawn today around 5:30 a.m. About 11 persons, he explains, may have died in this accident. 2 buses fully loaded and a truck. There will be more updates in the course of our programming today here on Joy News. We will be back with updates on the National Science and Maths Quiz 2020. So I've been telling you all morning about the stimulus package and conversations around the support if you have a small business, you've suffered obviously because of COVID-19. Can you still tap into that fund? Is it available? How many people are queuing for it? What's the possibility that you can also get it? How about the private schools? My guest is the Executive Director of the NBSSI, Kosi Yankee Aye. She joins me with all the answers. It's going to be interactive, so you two can reach us later on in the conversation so you can ask your questions. Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So first of all, I want to understand how much you have for distribution and explain the different categories. So classification maybe?
Yeah, so you can, it could be categories or classifications, but I think what we have at the beginning of the program was 600 million Ghana cedis. And then the government in the mid-year budget review added another 150 million Ghana cedis. And the reason was because of the numbers that had applied and also understanding the needs of Ghanaians and the importance of supporting the micro, small and medium enterprises. So the government in its wisdom decided that it's really important for us to see how we can provide the needed support to be able to support these businesses at a time such as this. So if you remember in May when we launched, we looked at 2 categories, right, and designed the program where we had 2 interventions, really looking at the micro businesses and also looking at the SME angle of the business. These categories were designed because we had data, which is numbers on the people and the businesses and enterprises. And we realized that 90% of the Ghanaian MSME sector were really in the micro, small and medium enterprises. And they were also 90 or 80% were also micro, which is really a true reflection based on the numbers we also collated from those who had applied for the loans.
Okay.
And so, in really looking at the data and looking at how the Ghanaian MSME economy looked like, we designed 2 products, which was the Adum Microsoft Loans, which was looking at those who were at the really micro level who needed support, so upwards to 2,000 Ghana cedis. And then we designed the Enidaswo product, and the Enidaswo looked at those above 2,000 going towards 300,000 was the max, and the limit that we had set for ourselves. Because we did appreciate the needs of Ghanaians and really trying as much as possible to see how best we can support them at a time such as this.
Okay. So how many people did get some money?
To date, we have over 200,000 people who have applied, who have received some form of funding from NBSSI through the government stimulus package, the CAP business support. And there's more who we are looking to target and support as well to benefit from the intervention going forward.
We've been going around with the microphones. There are people who are still calling for support. Is there some more money?
Oh, yes, there's a lot of support. I think one of the things that I want to highlight is what we've learned through the process. And one of the most important things we've learned is the need for access to finance, to really formalize the Ghanaian economy, and really providing technical support to businesses. And so, most importantly for us as an institution, the National Board for Small Scale Industries, is to see how best we can continue to support these businesses, continue to support the entrepreneurs and Ghanaians at large. And so as much as possible, we designed it where we're going to provide intervention support to beneficiaries. Some will get, some will not get. But as much as possible, that is the work we do. And besides this, the goal is for us to continuously facilitate access to finance. And prior to this, really within the past 3 years, prior to CAP business support, we had facilitated over 40 million Ghana cedis in access to finance. So this was not the first intervention. We had been doing it because our work is to support micro, small, and medium enterprises. And even after and during this, we still have other support, and we'll be revealing one tomorrow as well to support MSMEs in Ghana.
Okay, I guess it's become even crucial because businesses that would not have come to you for support are coming because of the COVID-19.
I think it's 2 ways, right? So there are those who are coming because they've been hit by COVID. There are those we've always worked with who always knew we were there. And I think this COVID-19 pandemic has also brought NBSSI to the light for other people to know the work we do on the ground. So under normal circumstances, maybe we would not have been able to afford to do communications the way we want to, or be able to really target certain areas. Because we have 185 district offices across the nation. And so in areas where we don't have district offices who didn't know much about the business advisory centers or NBSSI's work, they wouldn't have known. But now they've gotten the opportunity and we've become more accessible, which was the vision and the goal of our institution.
On what basis would you reject somebody's application?
There are so many bases, right? One, if you give us falsified information. So there are situations where people would give you information of giving us even wrong, the TIN numbers. If there's genuine wrong and there's fraudulent wrong TIN numbers. You have situations where people apply with the same TIN number. The system was set up because we realized it was an emergency and a time for need. The goal was as much as possible to give people an opportunity. So at this moment, I think through all the engagements, my goal was to really hammer to people and say, this is the time for us to think about our brothers, our neighbors and our sisters, and really look at it from the point where, what do I really need? So that there's something for other people too. So as much as possible, the goal was for people to apply only once. So you have people who put in 2 applications and the system automatically rejects you and throws you out of the system. So we've had some challenges like that for some of the beneficiaries. We also have situations where there was a school who wrote to us and said, and after they had applied and we had given them the opportunity to assess the funds, the last final step was for the owner who had applied to go and sign off. And at that time, we found out, or they wrote to us when we asked them to bring the owner and the founder, that he had died in 2019. So that means they had falsified the documentation. And because now they were being asked to assess the funds, they came back saying, oh, I'm sorry, but he died last year. We are sorry. We couldn't change the name, but we used the name, which is fraud, right? And so as much as possible, that wouldn't happen. Then you have situations. It's also another private school where they came to us and said, my headmaster took my documentation without my knowledge, and so they applied on that behalf. So that is also a situation where we will not give the funds out because it's very fraudulent, and that's the situation we're not looking at. And there's also instances where people don't complete the application. So they start it, they don't complete it, but they assume they are done, and so they expect to have something, but they never complete it.
Because it's cumbersome? Is it easy for somebody to go through the process?
I think we tried our best, right? And so it's relative, I would say that, like everything else in the world, it is quite relative. We had the situation where you had to register so that you were given a code and then you complete the application form. And the goal was that the registration allowed us to really assess your business to give you the right application form. So if you were a micro business and I was giving you a documentation or an application form for someone who was a medium business, that would not help you, right? So as much as possible, the whole process or the entire process was necessary for us to get a better understanding of the businesses and the work they were doing.
I just wanted to ask on the issue you just addressed, the issue with the fraud. Did you have to call police to handle some of the cases?
Yes,
for instance?
I think that for us, I mean, you'd be amazed the number of letters we get a day from even the proprietors or the enterprise owners making certain, talking about some of the fraudulent activities. We've had to really bring in national security or BNI in at some point to really take a look at certain situations that have come up. Some people have been arrested in certain regions or districts, because one of the major challenges was there was a lot of people thinking that you had to pay. So in certain situations, in certain districts or towns or markets, people were paying to get access. People were being told that if you pay, I'll take you directly to the CEO. Or if you pay for this, I can take you out of the system because you don't need to pay it back. And all of that is fraudulent. And it's one of the things that I keep hammering and wanting to tell people that this process is all entirely free. You don't need to pay. So if you've paid to someone, it wasn't because we asked for it.
You don't have middlemen, you don't have people acting as agents?
We don't have middlemen, we don't have people acting as agents. If people have challenges, they can go to our business advisory centers. And the business advisory centers provide support, right? That's what we do throughout the year. So in the districts level, we continue to provide that support. So they can come to us. And even on the districts level, one of the things we did was even fees that Parliament has approved for us to charge. We tried to really hold off doing that so that people will not misinterpret it and wouldn't assume that I'm paying for an application. The process was entirely free. And so we kept hammering that for people to get that idea.
If I operate a tabletop business, am I still qualified to tap into this?
You're a micro business. I think that it's important for us to see, you look at every economy and you look at every economy across the world and you look at your Ghanaian economy and you see what businesses are. You have those who are tabletops, you have those who have kiosks, you have those who have containers, you have those who have shops, you have those who have offices, so it graduates. Now the goal is, how do we support people to graduate from the tabletop to the next level, right? So a lot of the work we do is trying to graduate these businesses. So because you're on a tabletop does not mean that you do not have access and should not have access, because that is your economy. A lot of your economy is tabletop. It's market women and men. It's the shops, it's the makolas, it's the KJTs. That is your economy. So how do we provide the relief and support for them to grow?
Okay, so what would such a person require to bring along? Because a lot of them don't do the lengthy paperwork.
Exactly. So that's why I mentioned we had two setups. We had a registration process that made us allow what type of business you were. So after the understanding and being clear on that, the next level then was you would get the application process that was for the type of business you were, which was a micro, a small, or a medium. So the micro documentation was not as lengthy and as demanding. I wasn't going to ask a micro person, what is your financial statement or your income statement, right? But I was asking enough questions based on the data we were collecting to make an informed decision, to give us an idea as to what you're doing. And also to realize the importance of having that data, because eventually in the future, we need to figure out what to do with that data, which is how do we use that to build the businesses that we have in Ghana? How do we use that to move the economy forward? So this exercise in its entirety is more than just giving funding. It's about the next level. After COVID, what's next? How do we take this data and build a stronger economy, build and support the woman who's on the tabletop? What are her needs? Because through the information she shares, I get an understanding of what her needs are.
But this is also not free.
Yes.
So you also have to figure out how you actually get your money back.
Exactly. So you have to, and I think that it's really important that in the design, we put all of that into, and took that into consideration, that you need to really figure out and think about it. And it's the whole exercise in its entirety is not just showing up and saying, we have funding, here it is. But it's really thinking through what was the reason behind this fund. The reason was COVID-19 pandemic, right? So you give out the funds, then what? How do you collect the funds back so that we can use it to support other businesses in the future, right? Because I don't want us, and I think government especially doesn't want us to look at this as, oh, it's only for today. It's not about only today, it's about tomorrow.
But do the people understand that they have to pay back?
They do. But that is life, right? If people do understand it, we've talked about it. Next week, we would also be doing some engagements with them on financial literacy, the importance of all of this, right? And you would always get in every situation, because even if you look at a bank, they still have NPLs, right? But the goal and the understanding is how do you minimize the NPLs? And as I had mentioned to you, this is not the first time we're doing this. We've done this in the past. We have an existing fund at NBSSI. And over the years, we've worked hard at having really high collection rates. And so the goal and the importance of the work we do, one, through the participating financial institutions, two, because we're on the districts level as an institution, we have access to the people. So we work with them, we engage them, we continuously engage them. So you build a relationship. So collections is not only about it's time to pay, but it also takes into consideration how you're monitoring and evaluating the businesses, how you're providing the needed support to the beneficiary. Then they become a friend, then they become a client, then they become a, how do we grow together as a business?
Let's talk about the private schools, because they've complained a lot. I understand you're giving some money so they can pay salaries.
I think that what we're giving the private schools, at the beginning of the program, we really talked about it, providing support to enterprises, micro, small, and medium enterprises. And truthfully, schools also fall under enterprises because they're businesses. People have taken them as businesses, besides the public schools. So you have those who will take the private school work as a business. So we do, and they applied as well. So people applied for different reasons. Some applied because they wanted to pay salaries, some for other operational costs. Some said they had to maintain, because if people don't use, you still need to maintain your facilities. So there are different supports and needs as well, but majority was for the support of salaries.
How much, what's the highest figure that you've had to give a private school?
I think we've given a private school of upwards of 150,000.
This is one-off, because you can come back and take another facility.
Yes, because I think that what we're doing is a stimulus package, right? And stimulus packages are one-offs. Your goal is that it doesn't become the problem doesn't last forever. So people can pick themselves up. So our intention at the end of the day is, how does this really become a one-off that supports and transforms your business?
And when are they expected to begin the payment?
So we gave a 1-year moratorium, up to 1-year moratorium, because we all didn't know when COVID-19 was going to end. And especially for private schools, since you brought up the sector, was looking at how best we can support them, really, and also in a year moratorium, and then 2-year repayment rate. And that's what we're looking at doing with them. Yes.
Okay. I wanted to give my viewers a little bit of time, so that if somebody had a question, we have to go real quick. So kindly give me a call, 0302211691. 102-0302-211-6912. If you've got a question, you can let us hear it now so it can be addressed. We'll just spend just some 2 minutes on this one. Forgive me. So how many people are in queue right now as we speak?
As I mentioned to you, we had a lot of applications. Some will get it, some will not. We've been able to do 200,000, of which 185,000 are in the micro category, and the rest are in the higher categories, and we're doing more on it. And every day there's a disbursement process, so we're pushing that as well so that people will get and benefit as much as possible. We've had a very good engagement with a lot of the associations in bringing them to the table and other people as to how best it is that we make this get the mileage. The funds get the mileage that they really need and have. And the importance of the mileage is because, as I mentioned, this is a fund to provide sustainability at a time like this, and not for us as businesses to look at expansionary models, you know. So there are people who are saying, I want to expand my business, I want to expand my school. And one of the things we said, this was not the time for us to fund you for that, because we wanted to relieve you of your challenges. So going forward, we'll bring on board other funds that would provide the progress that you need, that will provide the support that you need, that will build you, which is all in alignment with government's CARES project that the Minister of Finance brought up, which was really looking at resilience, recovery, forward movement. How do we support the economy to go forward? And really, the backbone of it is the micro, small, and medium enterprise.
All right, let's just go to the phone lines. Inusa is calling from WA. Good morning, Inusa.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Let's hear your question.
Yeah, I have two questions for the CEO of NVSSI.
Yes, let's hear it.
Concern. During the process of filling the forms, you will realize that some were not having the TIN numbers. They'll pick their friends' TIN numbers and use it. So, first, that question is it allowed?
Okay.
That's one. Yes, and after picking and you should give the process, what are the conditions that before one could apply? That is the question number two.
Okay. Please, are you clear?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Inusa.
So I think it's important that it's a very important question, because you have in the system, you asked me what would make someone not qualify. And it's fraudulent to use your friend's TIN number, because that is not your identity. And so in the system, we design the system in a way that the first step is immediately you put your ID number, it pops up with your name because we had your data. Then if you put your TIN number, it also popped up with your name. So if it didn't reconcile, then you never completed, or it got rejected automatically.
Okay.
So you will not be paid.
So you can use somebody else's
Yes.
TIN.
The other challenge what it takes me to is that people were also using other people's Momo numbers. So for those who we had said we were going to pay through mobile money, right? Some had different names from theirs. And that is a huge chunk of our payments. And so you realize that in making payments, about 30,000 of the beneficiaries we've made payments to, 30,000 of them have wrong mobile numbers, mobile money numbers. And I can't pay someone who has a different name from the name that applied, because it would go against me. So you see that some people say, I have applied, I haven't received, because I have 30,000 people who put in the wrong mobile numbers, and so in view of that, could not even access the fund.
Okay. And then how long does it take if I apply today? If I start the process, how long would it take?
The application is over.
Oh.
Yes. So we closed the application in June, and that's what we said. So so that question as in that.
So you're still processing people who have applied?
Yes.
Okay.
For payment.
And that's not over. So if you've applied and you haven't received, it's not over.
Rest assured, we're still working.
But if you bounce me, will you tell me?
Oh, of course we'll tell you.
Okay.
We will let you know.
Okay. All right. Well, we have to leave the conversation here. We wait to see what you come up with tomorrow, and then we can pick up from there.
Definitely.
All right. Really grateful for your time.
Thank you very much.
We have to go to the airport, though. ECOWAS leaders are arriving this morning for a meeting at the Peduase Lodge. The high-powered meeting will discuss how to resolve the ongoing crisis in Mali. And as you know, our president is chairman of ECOWAS, which means he's hosting these guests. Manuel Kranting is roving from the airport. Manuel, what can you report? Who has arrived?
Yeah, so Mama V, I'm at the Kotoka International Airport, where the high-powered delegation of ECOWAS is supposed to be touching down here for their all-important meeting at the Peduase Lodge later today. You just missed the arrival of Faure Gnassingbé, who is president of Togo. They are arriving here. We're also expecting that the president of Senegal, we're expecting Sierra Leone, we're expecting Burkina Faso, and so on and so forth. Just about, 8 heads of state are to join the ones who have arrived already. I'm told that we have the president of Guinea, Professor Alpha Condé, he's also here. And then the 2 delegations, like the 2 factions from Mali, they've also arrived here in Accra already ahead of the meeting later today. You remember that, earlier in June, what has now come to be known as the June 5, rebellion or junta was carried out in Mali, which ousted the sitting president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita. And so, the ECOWAS Commission has been leading talks and negotiations really to bring an amicable solution to what the situation is in Mali. And so this meeting, as I'm describing to you, is supposed to begin, processes that will eventually lead to the finality of the situation in Mali. There have been some timelines that have been given to the leaders of the uprising there. They're supposed to have handed over to a peaceful, if you like, a democratic government for a 1-year transition by September 15. That deadline is today. And so this meeting is supposed to give us a picture of whether or not that deadline will be met today. So some contingent from the Navy are here who have been welcoming the dignitaries as they arrive. Like I said earlier, we've gotten the arrival of the Togolese president Faure Gnassingbé, who would also be receiving a number of others. I've been able to spot the senior minister Yao Safo Mafo. He's leading the Ghanaian government delegation who are welcoming the dignitaries, the foreign dignitaries here. I've spotted also the Minister of Zongo Development, the Honorable Mustafa Hamid, and definitely, of course, the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Shirley Ayoko Buche. She's been also here. So they've walked His Excellency Faure Gnassingbé into the Jubilee Lodge, where he's supposed to proceed to his hotel and prepare for the all-important meeting later today. So we don't know what exactly is going to be the outcome of the meeting that they will have at Peduase today, but for many of the international relations analysts and so on who have been commenting on the situation in Mali, the ECOWAS intervention is supposed to be, what would, as it were, turn on the valve to lead to processes of restoring a democratic government in Mali. And really, the wars of Mali did not start today. In 2012, what was known as the Tuareg Rebellion started when opposition were criticizing the government for what they called weak management of corruption issues and so on and so forth. In 2013, the now ousted President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita was brought in and given, a timeline to, as it were, lead peace talks. Those peace talks seem to have also broken down. A reason you are having, the uprising, which went down on June 5. So, that's the atmosphere here. Generally, Mama V, we're expecting that more of the dignitaries will be arriving here at Kotoka. I'm told by the press attaché to the delegation here that we are expecting delegation from Niger, we are expecting delegation from Nigeria, we're expecting a delegation also from Burkina Faso, we're expecting a delegation from Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea. I've already mentioned Professor Alpha Condé touched down in Accra yesterday, and so he's already here. Colonel Assimi Goita, he is the leader of the delegation from Mali, and we're expecting that they will cooperate with the ECOWAS Commission, which is chaired by His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I must at this point mention, though, that the lead mediator for today's engagement is His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, and he's supposed to lead the talks and essentially bring some, finality, or if you like, even a roadmap that will lead to the finality that most of the onlookers and then also the patrons of the ECOWAS area are expecting. And so there's an AU High Representative for Mali, and then there's His Excellency Pierre Bouyaya. He's also expected to touch down. In fact, I'm told he's already touched down. He touched down yesterday at 1700 hours yesterday, and he will be at the end of the government from Mali, while Colonel Assimi Goita will be speaking for the uprising in Mali later today. And so generally, as I'm saying, this is the feeling here. We've gotten the touchdown of the Togolese president, and we're expecting up next the touchdown of the Senegalese president, His Excellency Macky Sall. He will be touching down very soon, and we can bring you pictures of his arrival, and maybe try to get closer to him and get some reactions, of like expectations for the meeting. I am aware that there have been some, consultations that have already been carried out ahead of this meeting. And so even though the idea is to essentially restore democratic government in Mali, it may, end up in a roadmap that will have snippets of different situations, or if you like, different events that will finally arrive at, getting a democratic government restored in Mali. And all these, have implications for countries, other countries in West Africa, neighboring countries in West Africa, because there are implications really for refugee springing and so on, a breeding of refugees and so on. And so I'm just trying to give you a picture of how important this meeting is. So in my background there, you're seeing the Ghanaian delegation. I can spot the senior minister, the Honorable Yao Osafo Mafo. We have the Zongo Development Minister also, Mustafa Hamid. He's here. The Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Shelley Ayoko Buche, is also here, and they are essentially welcoming the dignitaries from across the West African sub-region and their aides. I'm told that they'll be ushered into their hotel rooms where they'll prepare for that all-important meeting later today. So like I was giving you a brief of, how important this meeting is. An overflow of refugees, if the situation in Mali is not curtailed, or if you like, restored and dealt with, an overflow of refugees will mean that the other West African neighbors of Mali would have to open their borders to receive people who perhaps might be fleeing the territorial area of Mali. And in times of COVID, where governments are taking a hit and dealing with their own population needs, as very important as lending a helping hand and giving aid to humanitarian aid to other countries. This perhaps you say is not the best of times to be having that. And so essentially everybody, when I say everybody, I mean every other country within the West African sub-region stands, to benefit if a proper resolution is brought to the situation in Mali. And so definitely, as I'm saying, we're expecting some more arrivals. As of yet, there's none. I don't know, Mama V, if you have any question or any clarification you want to make.
No,
these are essentially the pictures that we have from here at the Kotoka International Airport.
So what we're going to do, Manuel, is to ask you to continue to be there and prompt us When another guest arrives, we'll come right back at you so you can give us a situational report. So we're staying with you, going off now and coming back as Manuel continues to be at the Kotoka International Airport to give us some more update. But just a little background to continue what Manuel was sharing with us, the situation in Mali. We know that President Keita of Mali, first of all, refused to step down, but he had been without a government since April when his prime minister and the rest of his government resigned amid an intensification of the civil war that has been raging, like Manuel pointed to back in 2012. President Keita formed a new cabinet in late July in an attempt to get a handle on the crisis. The Economic Community of West African States, that's where we come in because our president is now chairing ECOWAS. It's a regional bloc and is attempting to mediate. It called for the formation of a unity government, the resignations of lawmakers whose elections were called into question, and the new elections. The bloc has also threatened sanctions against opposition groups who hinder a resolution to the crisis. So that's what essentially we're trying to resolve today. Mali's recent turmoil, as we have said already, began in 2012. So this is not an easy task. It's something that's been raging, really. And it first of all was carried out by soldiers opposed to what they saw as a weak response to a growing separatist insurgency by Tuareg rebels in the country's north. The insurgents were armed with weapons flowing from nearby Libya, following that country's 2011 civil war. So it's got a long stretch with several implications as well. As we host this meeting, remember that there are some very important routes here in the Greater Accra region that you can't access this morning. So we hope that you've heard us, and so you're not using those routes so you become frustrated in the process. Manuel is still at the airport and will be telling us who touches down next at the Kotoka International Airport. That's the updates that we have with this ECOWAS meeting. Just to give you a reminder again, the roads that are closed that you can't access: Kotoka International Airport to the Liberation Road at Opebia, Airport bypass through the Liberation Road, Kempinski Hotel to National Theatre on the Independence Avenue, also Liberation Road through to N4 to Pediase Lodge. And again, Liberation Road from 37 to Obasanjo Streets, Tank Palace Hotel, and then Independence Avenue to Akwaje. So don't get frustrated. Be warned ahead, even before you move. Find a plan B for your movement today, because some of these major roads will not be accessible because of the all-important ECOWAS meeting that Ghana is hosting, as our president is chairman of ECOWAS, trying to mediate and resolve this ongoing crisis in Mali. Still bringing you pictures from the Kotoka International Airport with our man Manuel Kranting stationed there, giving us situational reports on the arrival of the guests from the other ECOWAS sub-region arriving in Ghana for this meeting. As he's already told us, some of the heads of state arrived yesterday. The president of Togo arrived this morning. We're still expecting some more to touch down in our country for this meeting today.
I think you are done with explaining.
All right, Manuel is still at the airport. He'll be bringing us the update as and when there's anything new to report.